Okay, so to start this episode this week, I've brought you down here to my local park run here at Main Beach. About a week ago, we had this place absolutely decimated by fire, and you can see a little bit of the remnants of the fire around me here and what it's done. So I'm going to take you on a little bit of a journey and then get stuck into the session. So to start with, I'm just going to go and get changed. Okay, welcome to episode 4 for this season, season 2, 2019. Thanks very much for joining us again here on Wire Run TV. We really appreciate everyone last week who got involved in the weekly challenge. We had lots of people giving us their thoughts on when we should do strength activities or how much they like yoga and things like that, which was great. Please keep that feedback coming into us. We'd love to get your thoughts. We'd love to get your different opinions on what you think about things so that we can make these episodes as interesting as possible and so we can share lots of ideas around. So hopefully you've had a great week of training or racing. This week I've been actually digging through a couple of my old training diaries from years ago and even back through my college years and high school years, and I found one particular session that I absolutely used to love and used to adore, and that's the session that I'm going to bring to you today. It's a session that has a lot of benefits regardless of whether you're a beginner runner or whether you're quite advanced or whether you're into the professional field. It's a session which you can use at any time of the year, regardless of whether you're in the very first couple of weeks of your training block or whether you're sharpening up just before you come to race time. So I'm excited to bring this episode to you because it's one that I absolutely love. As you can see, I headed down to my local park run this afternoon to have a little bit of a look at what had happened about a week ago. We had some pretty bad bushfires that went through there. The heat's been very dry with not much rain at all. And so really the trails down there at Main Beach pretty much been like a tinderbox. They're just ready to click and ready to go at any time, and they did last week. I got down there last Wednesday for a bit of a run and I saw for the first time what it looked like, and it looked more like the Kona lava fields than the beautiful lush surroundings that we normally have here on the Gold Coast. So yeah, that's where I went to do the session this afternoon because I thought it just looked really interesting and really cool and something different to run through. So here we go. Let's get into the session. So it's called the Mona Fartlek. It's based around one of my running idols, Steve Monteghetti. For those of you who don't know Steve Monteghetti, he now does a lot of pacing and a lot of coaching. He's paced the 3-hour marathon here quite a few times on the Gold Coast. But he was one of our foremost runners in the 80s and 90s. He was probably our #1 marathon runner during that time. He went to many, many Olympics and World Championships, and he really is an icon of Australian running. And this session is named after him because it's one that when his coach asked him to do a little bit of fartlek, a little bit of speed play, he would use this particular session to really sharpen himself up. So that word fartlek, it is a Swedish word. It means to play around with speed a little bit, to change the speed up in the session. And fartlek sessions can be quite short, as this one is. It's only a 20-minute main set, or it can be a little bit longer. So let's get into the session. Now, there's a term in this session called the float. Now the float, what that basically means is a recovery run that's a little bit faster and a little bit quicker than what you would do for an easy run. As you get fitter and fitter, obviously your float can get faster and faster. So the float is done in between the efforts. If this is the first time you're going to have a go at the Mona Fartlek, I would really recommend doing the float though at a walk. There's nothing wrong with walking in between these when you're just beginning, because the last thing you want to do is overcook yourself too early and then not have enough left at the end. As you do this more and more often, as you put this into your weekly or fortnightly training schedule, you'll be able to get that float going better and better. So, here is the Mona Fartlek. We started off by doing 2 efforts of 90 seconds hard. Now 90 seconds hard is different for lots of different people, but I reckon that's sort of 7 to 8 out of 10 pace where you're really pushing quite hard, but not going flat out. So 2 times 90 seconds hard with a 90-second float in between. After you've done that, we then step up to 4 times 60 seconds hard with a 60-second float in between. And the great thing about this session is that you can do it with other people, and regardless of whether your speeds, because in that float time, what we often do in our team and our little training session is that the people at the front turn around and they jog back to where the back runners are, and so we can all sort of come back together. So you don't have to do this on your own. If you are quicker or slower than other people than you're running with, you just have to organise it so that you can come back together before the coach says go again. After you've done the 4 times 60, we then step up to 4 times 30 seconds with a 30-second float. And at this part of the session now, again, as I said, if you haven't gone too hard with those floats at the very beginning, you should be really able to go really quite hard and maybe even step the pace up a little bit more in these 30-second efforts. So 4 times 30 seconds efforts with 30-second float. And then we finish it with the sort of the really hard 4 times 15 seconds with a 15-second float in between. It might seem quite short, but at this stage you get into the end of the fartlek session and you are getting quite tired, but being able to push and go for those 15 seconds is really beneficial. Before you do this session, obviously a nice warm-up, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, go through your stretches, go through your strides, and then at the end of this session, exactly the same. Get back together with your group, have a nice warm down, have a nice chat. So there's the mono fartlek. 2 lots of 90, 4 lots of 60, 4 lots of 30, and 4 lots of 15. The beautiful thing about it is, and this is what a lot of coaches have said to me, it hits that perfect 20-minute mark for the main part of the session. For amateur runners, being able to hit 20 minutes for the main part, whether you're on a treadmill, or whether you're on a track, or whether you're in the trails or on the road, that 20 minutes is kind of that magic number. With a little warm up and a little warm down, it's about a 40 to 45 minute session, which for the time crunched athlete, for the busy athlete, it's absolutely perfect. So there's the mono fartlek. Hope you can have a go at it. It's an absolutely wonderful session, and one that I think is going to make you get closer to nailing that PB that you want, particularly that park run, that 5K PB. Maybe you're looking to break into the high 20s, maybe you're looking to go under that 25-minute mark or under that glorious 20-minute mark, or maybe you're at the front and you're trying to go for that win. You're trying to push for that elusive first park run win. This is the perfect session. It's one that you can put in, and it's one that's going to make you, I believe, smash your PBs for your 5Ks in the near future. So there are a huge amount of positives about the mono fartlek, and these are the big positives for me. First of all, as I said before, it hits that beautiful 20-minute mark. It's a perfect number for the amateur athlete to hit. Anything more than that can sometimes be a little bit too taxing, a little bit too fatiguing when we're doing speed work. So it hits that perfect 20-minute mark. Secondly, it's short enough this session that you can put it into the midweek. You can do it in the middle, in the morning and midweek. You can do it after work because you can get it done in 40 to 45 minutes. Thirdly, it's the sort of one that you can do away from the track. Because it's not distance measured, it's time measured. You can do this away from the track and get a huge amount of benefit from it. If your legs are a bit sore, you can do it on the trails, you can do it on grass, anything like that. The next reason why is that regardless of who you're training with, you can all do this session together. As I said, one of the beauties of it is during that float time, you can all sort of turn back. The front guys and girls can turn back towards the people at the end, and they can all sort of jog together. A bit difficult when you get down to the 15-second ones for sure, but certainly in the first few, you can all sort of come back together for that float put sort of time. Now, the only negative that I've sort of come across with this is that some coaches have said that 20 minutes is a little bit too short. Yep, and I get that completely. If you are quite an advanced runner, you've been training for many, many years, maybe 20 minutes is a bit too short. But I think for most amateur runners, most weekend warriors, this is a perfect length of time. So I fully understand when coaches say that maybe it's a little bit too short. I guess an answer to that is we could maybe chuck in an extra 90 seconds. We could maybe add one more rep into each phase of it, up to 5 lots for the shorter distances. But yeah, maybe it is a bit too short for the more advanced and the professional athlete. Obviously, guys, your weekly challenge this week is to have a bit of a go at it. I'd be really interested to know if you've done this before, what you actually think of it. Send me a bit of a direct message, send me a bit of a comment on Facebook. Let me know if you've done this session before and what you think of it. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't. It'd be great to get your feedback. If you haven't done this session before, then jump into it. Have a go at it. This is your weekly challenge. I think with running, sometimes we can get a little bit stagnant with our sessions. We can repeat the same ones too often. And sometimes a little session like this that someone suggests can just be a little bit of a freshener, and it could be something which can just spice up your training. So if you haven't done it before, I'd really like you to send us a message how you went. Send us a bit of a photo of your stats and things like that, and it'd be great to share that with people and great to interact with you on it. This week, if you're heading over to Tarawera for the Ultra Trail race over there, send us a message. I would love to get a bit of a list of who's going over there, the people who follow us here on Wire Run TV, so we can track you on the day, so that we can share a list of people who are going over there. I've got a couple of friends, a couple of training buddies who are heading over to give it a go, so best of luck to everyone. I've heard it's an amazing race. I haven't been lucky enough to head over there myself yet, but it's certainly on the bucket list. If you're not going, jump on the Tarawera website, have a bit of a look at what it is all about. Maybe it's an event that you could get behind in the future. I've crewed a couple of 100k races in the past, and it is an amazing experience to witness when people do these longer races. So if you're heading there, please let us know, send us a message, tell us what distance you're doing, and best of luck for this taper week. I know you'll be getting lots of rest, you'll be eating well, you'll be packing the bags, looking at getting to the airport nice and early, and ticking off all those things. For everyone else, best of luck for the week. As I said, have a go at the weekly challenge. Send us a bit of a link about how you went with it, and we'll catch up with you in 7 days' time for the next episode, which is a strength routine. I'm going up to see a buddy of mine up in Brisbane called Miles. He's going to go through a strength routine for us, a 20-minute strength routine that we can do without any weights, without heading to the gym, the sort of thing we can do after we come home from work. So I hope to see you in 7 days' time for that strength session. Have a great week of running, and thanks again for checking in with us. See you later.